It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across what will soon be a frozen America, or a significant portion of America, especially the Midwest and into the South.
The frozen tundra.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We are Red Eye Radio, looking here at Des Moines. And by the way, you can blame everything on Jerry.
That's right.
It's Jerry's fault.
We always knew it was.
Yes.
That would be Winter Storm Jerry.
Jerry with a G.
Yeah, as they call the storm on weather.com, the Weather Channel. I don't know why they're still naming storms, but they do. Winter storms.
And so you really wonder how, because people actually go out. They go to homes and churches, and they actually caucus.
Yeah, and
it's
Iowa's
wild.
Just
Iowa for Monday.
Ooh.
All right? When the caucusing will be going on.
Yeah.
-4 degrees below zero. It's not wind chill. That's the actual temperature. -4 degrees below zero will be the high Monday. The low Monday, -15 degrees below zero. With a 15-mile-an-hour wind.
No. Nope. I quit. By the way, how do you winterize your caucuser? I don't know that you can.
Wow. Now, the other interesting thing is if we look around, because it's wild card weekend in the NFL, so people are going to be watching.
It's also wild card weekend in the GOP.
You're right.
Will the House still have? Will the GOP still have the majority in the House by the time we get to next week? Yeah.
But the one game they're all talking about is Saturday night, and that's the Kansas City Miami game.
Oh yeah.
And our good friend, great friend of the show, and he is Dale Carter, who was the announcer at Arrowhead Stadium.
Oh yeah,
I believe Dale. I believe you're inside. Listens. I believe you're inside and warm.
Yeah. Oh, you better be right.
But for that'd be Saturday night's game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the high for Saturday will be 7 degrees, and then it continues to go down.
Right, temperatures are dropping.
So game time, if it's 7 o'clock, I'm not really sure what time it is.
I think it's 7. I think.
Yeah, because I think it is a night game. It's not like a late afternoon game.
Yeah.
It is a night game.
Yeah, it is.
-8 degrees below zero. We're not done yet. -8 degrees below zero with 17-mile-an-hour winds. Now, those aren't gusts. That's the steady wind.
No, I quit. Now, Miami going into this.
The Dolphins, we just forfeited.
has lost 10 cold weather games.
In a row, you mean?
Yeah, their last 10 cold weather games. Okay. I don't know what temperature range they put that in. The story hit yesterday. Guy I graduated high school with, Marvin Allen, is the assistant GM. I don't hear much from Marvin. I know he's still with the Dolphins. But you're going from Miami to this. Oh, my gosh. And it would be understandable. You're just not going to acclimate. You're just not going to acclimate that fast. And I don't know what you do, man. Receivers got to keep and quarterbacks got to keep their fingers nibble, and they got to keep the feeling in their hands.
Okay, I've got the wind chill calculator here.
All right.
If the wind's 17 miles an hour and it's -7 degrees below zero, we're calculating the wind chill. -30.
No, it's over. I used to talk with the cast of Ice Road Truckers. They would attend a lot of the events that I did in the trucking industry. And to me, it was always fascinating, this idea of having to get out and repair equipment or a line freezing or something, and you have to get out and get it going, right? And for a lot of that work, you got to take your gloves off so your fingers will be nimble enough to fix whatever you're repairing. And the stories that I've heard over the years, and I think to myself, well, and that's one thing, doing a job. But now you're trying to perform as an NFL team in that, and that just boggles my mind. I think that's going to be the story, though. One of the stories will be, the weather and the playoff games. That's going to be interesting.
When I worked in Rockford, Illinois, and it was the at our great affiliate WROK, and it was. This would have been the January, I believe, of '94.
Okay.
And it's the coldest, and it's, just to sit there and have to admit it because people just believe you're from Buffalo. Nobody has worse winters than Buffalo. Oh, yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it gets a lot colder in other places. You may get snow when the snow belt drifts up, to the population center of Buffalo, but most of the time, the westerly winds go over Lake Erie and it's south of Buffalo. It has to move a little bit, actually going more northeast to actually hit Buffalo in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. But because, like this year, for example, the lake is freezing late, so you may get, for the Bills game on Sunday afternoon, they may have temperatures like of 17 degrees and some snow if the snow belt moves a little bit north. Yeah. But when I lived in Rockford, Illinois, and I mentioned earlier when I was in Des Moines for the Iowa caucuses in 2004, it was unbelievably cold. It was like, I don't know, it was -3, -4 degrees. But that winter, we had like a week where it was minus all the time. It was like the low was -17 and the high was like -11. Now, I was just looking for the record. The lowest temperature they've ever had in Rockford, Illinois, was January 31st, just a couple of years ago in 2019, -31 degrees below zero. That's National Weather Service. I'm making sure. Rockford, Illinois. There it is. Okay, there it is. But when it was like -11 to -17, I went out. I didn't have any, not like they have in like Minnesota and stuff where it was at the oil pan heater or the radiator. It's the oil pan heater, not the radiator heater, right?
Yeah, and there's an engine block heater, but
engine block heater. Yeah. I've never had one of those, and so when I lived in Rockford, I would go out and start my car every 4 hours, and I drive it around. I set my alarm and woke up in the middle of the night. Yeah. Now the one thing that was the weirdest thing, you have no suspension.
No,
your shock absorbers,
it's brittle. You can hear it.
Every bump you take, you think your car is going to fall
just
apart,
crack into pieces,
and to break into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
That was the thing that freaked me out the most.
Yeah, it would have been early '85. Town a couple of hours northwest of here, where I started my radio career. And for a number of days, we didn't get above 5 degrees, which was rare. And I remember getting in my car. It was a 75 Monte Carlo. And I remember getting in my car and it wasn't even the creaking. It was just it felt like every component and piece of that car had become ice and was about to shatter. With every bump.
And if you have any kind of leather seating,
it
feels like, oh, man, I'm going to sit down and this whole thing's going to break into a million. There's going to be tears all in my upholstery of my vehicle.
Right.
That's what it feels like when you sit down. But, yeah, when the other thing was where I had my my sliding door that went out to my little porch in my apartment that I had when I lived in Rockford, Illinois, and we had -11 is, I think it was a high, and -17 is a low, that with like a foot past it, the wall was all ice inside my house. That's how cold it was. It was
on the inside.
On the inside, the condensation or whatever came, and it was like I had ice surrounding the entire thing inside the house. I mean, I was warm, but you got near the windows, and it did it also in some of the. I remember it was most prominent for my sliding door that went to my porch, but in other windows, it was still there too. You could see it was like
right.
It was almost like was it the movie? Was it not 20? What was it?
Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow.
Right.
Where the helicopters fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Right.
Instant.
It happens within just
freeze.
a few seconds. Yeah.
And that's why and people say, "What do you like better, cold or heat?" I love heat.
Yeah.
And it's funny because most Texans I meet, native that been here their whole lives, or hate heat.
I don't.
Yeah, you're one of the well. You've been around though too.
Yeah,
but
I've lived here
I'll put it
all
this
my
way:
life. Yeah,
more people I know.
Yeah, sure.
That are native in Texas hate the heat.
Well,
I give me the heat any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Yeah, it's always cumbersome when you get into August. That third week of August, and it's like, okay, I get it. And your AC's just now. I will say this:
I had AC problems this year during that time. So that
makes it so much worse. But I, on that note, have spent a lot of money on my central AC units. I have 2 of them, and it's like, nope, that's the one thing I will pay for. So it doesn't affect me. For that reason, if my AC goes out and I'm not able to repair it, come back to me. I'll have because I've been there. Everybody's been there in Texas at some point.
We hear now. We told you like Des Moines and Kansas City because that's where it's really going to be really brutally cold. But even here in Texas, I mean, we're going to have 4 days where it's below freezing, which is a rarity here.
Basically, Saturday night when it gets below freezing, we won't see above freezing until Wednesday, according to the forecast right now.
Yeah. Now, luckily, the temperatures seem to be a little bit, even though it seems to be extended longer, because Saturday, 57-17, Sunday, 28-19, Monday, 26-11 at night, and then Tuesday, 29-15. But that means everything is frozen for like 4 days, which concerns a lot of people.
Well, that's when you get into the real problems. I mean, when you talk about the plumbing supply lines, your water lines going into the house. My house was built in 1968 with lots of updates along the way, but still, any house, you have to take those special precautions. And better safe than sorry, because, man, even some of the newer builds back in Freeze-Pocalypse, the horror stories of those lines
that was terrible. Yeah.
That were frozen, and once they thaw, and that would be, in this case, they'll start thawing next Wednesday after we get below freezing. The good news is it's been really mild. We haven't had much of a winter, and so the heat in the soil.
It hit like 70 yesterday.
Was. I was out.
I know.
I actually went outside I was taking something out back to the garbage can, and I was like, oh no, this is too good. I put my tennis shoes on and found some things to do around the yard. I'm like, no, I want to be out in this while I can.
Because I'm shutting my pool down for a week.
Yeah.
Which means shutting down the pump and filters because you keep it on. I was like, okay, before I shut it down, I'm going to brush my pool and to make sure every single, vacuum it completely.
Yeah.
So I walked out in a sweatshirt and jeans. An hour later, I'm in a short sleeve shirt and shorts.
Right.
I'm like, this feels like I'm doing. Why are you doing this? Because it's going to be cold in another 2.5 days.
I was in a T-shirt and shorts yesterday, and there were a couple of lawn crews on my street that were working, and I was like, wow, it's going to be very different here in a couple of days. But and that's the thing is that, and then texting my adult kids, all right, hey, make sure you know about this, and here's the timeline and everything else, and everybody's set. But it's always concerning if a water pipe breaks. That's the worst kind of damage.
Oh, I know.
It's
Yeah,
just,
I know.
I mean, there is worse damage, but it's just horrible when something like that happens, especially if it's in a wall. Now, you got to tear out the wall. You got to repair the line. You got to make sure you get all that water up. You don't want mold later in the year from, moisture being stuck inside those walls, that kind of thing. So, that's why you do the preventative stuff right now. It's going to be.
So to
crazy.
everyone who's going to be, everybody listening on KCMO in Kansas City, for everyone who's going to be at Arrowhead, good luck.
Yeah.
On Saturday
Dale,
night.
let us know
how
it goes.
That's so cold. Part of me says, maybe I should pay for Peacock.
You said that during the break. You were going over the numbers there, and you're like, man, maybe I'll get Peacock just to tune in, because it will be a newsmaker. The weather in that game, even if you're not interested in that game necessarily, you'll be interested because of the weather.
They say it could
night.
break the record for the lowest temperature ever played in an NFL game. And I think that beats the Ice Bowl in Green Bay, because that was like -3 degrees. I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, it'll be something to watch for sure. And
it's not necessarily for the football. It's to see if 80,000 people survive it.
Well, no, you're tuning in to see, and there will be, I'm sure, plenty of shots of the crowd and everything else. My sister's husband, my brother-in-law, lifelong KC fan, so he'll be watching where they live.
Well, did you hear that? And I saw this yesterday. I don't think it's going to happen, but they were saying that if they call a state of emergency for Buffalo because of the storms coming in there, they're going to move the game to Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
So I don't think that's happening, though. I didn't hear anything since that. Since that was like early yesterday.
Okay.
So 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
When it comes to consumer prices for food and for most products,
it is typical for prices to fall slightly in December.
And that's what they did. Agriculture Department economist Megan Schweitzer says that according to the new Consumer Price Index, overall inflation for all goods in the economy during December went down by 0.1%. And for food, same thing.
Food at home prices fell by 0.1% in December, and prices for food at home, or for groceries, were 1.3% higher than a year ago.
Which is an inflation rate far below the average yearly rate of about 2.5%. And in fact, for the 22 general food categories that Megan tracks,
we saw price decreases for 12 of them from November to December.
And several foods last month actually were selling for less than they did a year ago, including fish and seafood, dairy products, fresh vegetables, and eggs. Those egg prices down almost 24% from a year ago. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I'm a victim of clickbaiting.
What'd you do?
It will not be the coldest game. I was reading different articles that were saying coldest NFL game ever, and so you assume it was going to be close.
Question mark.
No, the coldest game ever, and I was right on that. Was the Ice Bowl, Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, minus 13 degrees below zero, minus 48 degrees wind chill. So that will still last. But they said ticket prices as low as $68 for the Kansas City game.
I'll watch it on Peacock.
Right? Exactly. But they say probably around anywhere between 5 degrees and minus 2 or 3 degrees below zero.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today and listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. We have a 3-day weekend coming up, just so people know.
We do. We will have some best of programming over the weekend, but we're back at it live Monday night, Tuesday morning, and hitting the ground running with the first election results of 2024, the Iowa caucuses in play, and we'll have the results of that, and then be looking ahead to New Hampshire and what all that means and where the polls are then. I don't expect much to change with the polls where they are now, and even a week from Tuesday, New Hampshire. So we'll see.
A couple of really incredible things that happened this week. One was the entire story about the defense secretary, which is still unbelievable. And
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, if you know anything about how the federal government runs, the fact that the Secretary of Defense that he didn't inform the White House that he was sick, and the White House had no idea for a number of days, and everything that's been going on is just was a mind-boggling story.
Yeah,
this one is too, because I don't know if this has ever happened since I've covered politics. Maybe it has, but this is so unusual and so rare. But the Texas National Guard has seized control of a park at the U.S. southern border and is now blocking federal Border Patrol agents from entering the area, part of an effort to stop the surge of illegal immigrants into Texas, and a move likely to significantly increase tensions. Oh, really? Between Texas and the federal government. This is from Fox News. The state government has taken control of Shelby Park in the city of Eagle Pass, Texas, that has been at the center of the migrant crisis that has engulfed the U.S. border. Authorities have now set up razor wire and fences to block off the area. Eagle Pass mayor said he was informed of the decision when it was made as part of Governor Greg Abbott's emergency declaration. In a statement, Texas said it has maintained a presence in the park since 2021, including the security points and temporary barriers. The current posture is to prepare for future illegal immigrant surges and to restrict access to organizations that perpetrate illegal immigrant crossings in the park and greater Eagle Pass area. The Border Patrol Union confirmed to Fox News that agents were being blocked from entering by Texas soldiers and praised Abbott. That's the writer who wrote that.
What?
No, that was Bill Maloogian, said Adam Shaw, Bill Maloogian. Texas soldiers. Are they soldiers or are they National Guard? Because there is a difference.
If you're a National Guardsman, do they use the term soldier?
Do they? Is that the term they use? Okay. And praised, the Border Patrol Union, I'll just read it the way it is. The Border Patrol Union confirmed to Fox News that agents were being blocked from entering by Texas soldiers and praised Abbott for taking matters into their own hands. At the start of the sentence, when I first read that, I didn't know that that was going to be the end of that sentence, where it was like, we're being blocked by Texas soldiers, and they're doing the right thing by blocking us. That's the union,
the Border Patrol Union,
yes.
and they had a short statement, again, praising Abbott.
Right. Governor Adams is not Governor. Thank you, Governor Adams. Governor Abbott is not harming Border Patrol operations. He is enhancing them. National Border Patrol Counsel Brandon Judge said in a statement, his seizing control of Shelby Park allows our agents to deploy to troubled spots that experience high numbers of gotaways. Governor Abbott's actions should be seen as a force multiplier.
This has been the hot spot this is Governor Abbott deployed, and took this action. The National Guard has been present, but took this action in the right place. I mean, it is the hot spot. Number one, of course, there's media attention on it. But number two, it's been a I don't know if it's the most active crossing. We'd have to ask the Border Patrol on that. But you have seen it, in fact, going back a few years now. Both Del Rio and Eagle Pass have been highly active. And as the Border Patrol Union points out, this allows them to use their resources in another area while the Texas National Guard here is keeping watch in Eagle Pass. You pointed out earlier in the show, but for those just joining us, that this could well, ramp up this lawsuit, and actions between the federal government and the state of Texas. And let's have that conversation. Let's have it.
This may accelerate the legal aspect of this.
Yeah.
Fast tracking it maybe to the Supreme Court. But the question comes down to this. Does a state have a right to protect its sovereignty when the federal government makes the calculated decision to destroy that sovereignty and harm citizens of a state?
Not through not efficiently doing their job, but through the federal government making policy, spending money and resources in order to make that damage happen to said state.
Yes.
That's the difference. We can talk about inefficiencies of the federal government and whether the job gets done. No. This is proactive. This is a matter of policy from the top down all the way to those, because those agents are doing what they're told to do, but all the way to the boots on the ground. They have to do what they are ordered to do.
As Chris Christie. I'm getting everybody's name wrong yet. It's a Friday. All right. I'm out of here. Get me a beer and a shot. I'm done. No, Ted Cruz the other day said, he said, it's not that Mayorkas is doing a bad job, but he's doing a great job that is not the job that he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Well,
that he's doing the opposite of what his job actually is. So
right, which shows, of course, the intent of the administration. It shows the agenda. We are talking about taxpayer resources going to make this happen. Mm-hmm. The Border Patrol has become the border processing instead, and Governor Abbott has done the right thing yet again for the people of his state. But also on another level, the conversation about how this is going to go down going forward, because Governor Abbott won't always be the governor of Texas, and Joe Biden won't always be the president. And let's hope that's sooner than later. We're anxious to see where this goes in the Supreme Court and the battle between what the states can do. This is, I think, even a different equation than when the Obama administration sued Governor Jan Brewer in Arizona, because that was different. You pointed out, you made a good point on that one, is that in Arizona, it was like a traffic stop kind of situation. They were approaching people. It wasn't necessarily securing the border. It was how they were approaching people that were already in the state of Arizona at that time. And we can talk. I think the decision was wrong.
So do I.
In Arizona, but I think this sets up a more thorough discussion.
Yeah. But again, both though I think are on the same legal point, and that is, does a state, because even then in Arizona, as we know, they weren't really trying to stop what was happening even at that time. It wasn't to the extent of where it is now.
Right, yeah.
But it was still pretty great.
Yeah.
And so now, though, it's gotten to the point where it's worse than it's ever been before. I mean, it looks like it looks like a dystopian nightmare.
Yeah.
When you see what's going on right now there, and it's just, and so you can make the case again that the federal government under the Constitution have the authority to a calculated and premeditated way harm states.
I don't think they do.
Of course they don't.
It's quite the opposite.
Was that, and remember, and this was, if you're talking about as an originalist, looking at the 13 colonies, and because that's when, you're talking about, that's when, the 13 states, because they weren't colonies at that point. Then they became the United States of America once the Constitution was passed. But the fact is, as we know, even though the federal government was in charge of the borders, states had tremendous power. There was never a thought that the federal government could purposely harm states by just advocating their responsibility to have secure borders.
Right.
And they've done that here. One more thing we got to get out before we get out of here. Former Senator Joe Lieberman said Thursday he wants former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie to consider a third-party presidential bid with no labels after Christie ended his GOP campaign. Lieberman, chair of No Labels, brushed off previous comments from Christie denouncing the group's push for a bipartisan third-party ticket. Look, earlier in the year, when he was asked about No Labels, he basically said it was not an effort that had any chance of succeeding, and maybe the world will look different to him now, Lieberman said in an interview. And I'd like to reach out to him and see if he, Governor Christie, is at all interested in being on a bipartisan No Labels unity ticket this year. He could be a very strong candidate. Lieberman said Christie might well be No Labels material, referring to the anti-Trump former governor as refreshingly independent. That's the kind of candidate No Labels is looking for. You think where Chris Christie, though, stands on the actual issues, forget about his opinions on Trump. Do you think any Democrat would vote for Chris Christie?
No.
And this makes the point that we said always about no labels. No labels means we don't want to give anybody a label. We just want somebody who can defeat Trump if we believe Trump can win.
Well, and of course they're going to reach out and try and grab any name that falls off the GOP wagon, right?
Yep.
And no, look, you can't take a position, no labels, because the moment you take a position, you have a label, whether you like it or not, whether it's your label that you created or not. And Chris Christie, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to respond here. I have my doubts about that. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter who you pick.
Well,
call yourself the not so crazy liberals. I would believe you more.
Well, except for Joe Manchin, everyone so far is a Republican who, as you saw, Larry Hogan resigned his board seat with no labels because they believe he's going to run. Mm-hmm. And then Liz Cheney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, not so crazy liberals. Of course, she's still on the crazy side in terms of extreme liberals. But that's a more accurate depiction.
Yeah, well,
whether they're former Republicans or whatever party affiliation, they are a liberal group.
Well, they're a liberal group, and that's why I believe they're picking Republicans because they want to take votes away from Trump.
Right. Yeah.
This is about a Trump thing. It's not about Biden. It's about it's anyone but Trump.
Right.
They're never Trumper party.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the weekend with the United States and Great Britain with that coordinated attack, on the Houthis in Yemen. Look, I mean, and I hope the Republican Party is strong in saying, look, because this is the insanity of it all along since October 7th is the fact that, now you got the White House saying, well, maybe we should call them a terrorist group. Well, they were a terrorist group.
Yeah.
And you took them off the terrorist list.
Right.
The other thing is how loud will Democrats scream that the president is breaking the Constitution with the attack and not consulting Congress?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.